All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to very good KD session this morning. So I'm sharing my screen now. Can you see my screen? Sure, can anyone hear me?
Your screen.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, let me share my video too. All right. Good morning, everyone. It's good to have everyone here for an awesome KD session. Okay, so quickly, today we'll be looking at the software development lifecycle models, and specifically we'll be considering the Agile model. We more or less looking at an introduction and an overview of the Agile model. Okay. Okay, so we're looking at the SDLC models and an overview of the Agile model. Now, why do we need to use the Agile model? Why do we need to incorporate it into our software project? And the phases in the Agile model, the advantages, disadvantages, then we conclude. Okay. So the SDLC models, which which are known as the software development lifecycle models, they comprise of phases or a workflow of stages and processes used in software development. Now, they could also be termed as frameworks that describes the operations performed at each phase of a software development project. Now, the reason why they're called models or methodologies is basically the fact that you could use them to suit the nature of the project or of the software project that you're trying to work on. For example, if you just want to build a straight project, that maybe might not need, maybe it's a self-sustained software project that might not need updates in the next 5 years, or probably if it's being developed has the ability to to stay in the market for as long as we know it, then the traditional model, which is also known as the waterfall model, is just that. But if then another example, if you want to build a software project that that you want to reach landmarks, for example, let's say you have like a vision 2030 for such a software project, and then you want it to reach a certain landmark, let's say by 2025, by 2028, by 2029, then an incremental model could work in such a situation. So now these are models that combine each of the phases in SDLC to suit the nature of the project it is that we're going to be working on. So that's what basically they are. Now, some of these models are the core model, the incremental model, the agile model, the iterative model, the prototyping. Now we also have the RAD model, which is also known as the rapid application development model. Now, these are models that could be incorporated if we are going to be working on a software project, if we're going to be building software. Now, when we carefully look at these models, we're able to see which one fit versus the project that we're working on, so as to get to maximum productivity and profits. Right. So today we'll just be putting a searchlight on the Agile model. Now, one thing about the Agile model is it combines the iterative model and the incremental model of software development lifecycle. Now, when we get that's the method used in iterative development, because if you check the previous slide, I highlighted that the iterative model and incremental model are part of the models used in SDLC. So now when we get the methodologies used both in the incremental model and the iterative model, we get the Agile model. We get the Agile model. So let's go on. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so now the Agile model is a customer focused. Now, when you mean it's customer focused, meaning this project is based on your interactions with the customer, based on user expectation, based on whatever it is you get from the user to work on. And it's a profit-driven process in which execution of software projects become iterative and incremental. Now, I'm going to explain the iterative and the incremental models to you. Now, the iterative model of software development is when you keep going through each of the phases, keep going through the planning phase, you keep going again through the design phase, the construction phase, the deployment phase, and all the phases in the SDLC. You keep going through the phases again and again until you get the desired product, until you get the desired result. That is iterative. Now, for this iterative, you are not going to deploy, for example, the software because you have not yet reached the result, that's like the desired result. So you just keep repeating the process. Just keep repeating the process until it reaches the desired result. That's for iterative. Now for incremental. Now this is what I'll describe as the landmark model. You want to start up a software project, then you have an end in mind, but due to one reason or the other, you can't meet it, or basically you don't have, maybe you don't have, the end of the project in mind, or you don't have, or the vision of the project or the end of the project is not really clear. It's really foggy in your mind. So you more or less like set landmarks that okay, at this stage of this project, I should have done this, I should have done this, I should have done this. Now, when you're not picking up that same project again, you are adding something new. You are incrementing, whatever it is that you worked on before. So that is the incremental model. Now, when we combine the iterative model and the incremental model, we have the Agile model. Now, the Agile model basically spreads out the project it is that you're going to be working on into stages, spreads it out into iteration. Spreads out into landmark. Now the iterative process now comes in where you have to keep working on that project. Now each time that you are going to pick up the project again, you're adding something new. That's that's incremental and iterative in the sense that it's going to go through the process of the SDLC phase again and again and again until it gets to the desired result. Okay, so now why the Agile model? the Agile SDLC methodology focuses on helping developers develop projects, that can adapt to change requests from customers quickly. Also, the customer has transparency on the progress of the products being developed compared to the traditional model. Now the traditional development model, which I highlighted earlier on to be the waterfall model, is that you can't go to the next phase of the project if one phase is not completed. If one phase is not completed. But now, because you have the Agile SDLC, and it is solely it is most of the time you have to do with the customer interaction, customer feedback, the product backlog. It's just helps the developer, that's probably works on the software project, and it does it right, then it customizes it. More ideas could also come to the customer that okay, or to the user or to the client that okay, I want to add these few features, just to help the software. It just it gives the developer a a ground to build projects that can adapt. There's room for more improvement based on the requests from the client or the people using the project. So that's why we could why the agile model could be adopted. Now, give like for example, you don't have all the funds it takes to to build that software project, and then but then you're not also sure that even if you spend all this money to build that software project, that there won't be issues. Let's say when your users are like your clients are using it, they might have issue here, or they might feel okay, I want this to be added to the you know the software so as to increase just make feasibility and visibility more easier. Now when you adopt this methodology, it gives a ground for you're more or less like making that software a foundation that can that you could add more buildings to. All right, I mean more like more stories of building to. So now in traditional development model, which is also known as a waterfall model, all requirement needs to be gathered from customer before moving on to the next stage. That's which is the the design stage, the rest. Right. So now these are the phases in the agile model. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, it's an iterative process. You reach the desired results. You cannot these phases cannot end. So the requirements gathering from the user, then the requirements analysis, design and prototyping, implementation and construction, testing and quality assurance. So now this is the process. Now I want us to take a good look at this diagram. Now you're starting the initial process. You're going to plan it. You're going to get all the analyze the requirements, and then get the system specification and ensure that they're aligned. Then you design, and you develop, and then you test. Now, when you look at it, is it accepted? If it's not accepted, it goes back again. It begins the whole process again. Now, when it is accepted, then it is released. So now this is basically the agile model process. So now in the requirements gathering, in this phase, the team meets with the client, the user, to gather and define the requirements, for the project. Defines the requirements for for the project here. From the beginning, more like the client gives an overview of what he wants, more like just like in the incremental model, it gives an idea of what he wants to build or of what he wants to achieve in that software project, and then they're like they're like grouped into stages, into landmarks. So now, when it is beginning each phase again, something more is going to be added in the sense that due to a product backlog or customer feedback, or another requirement from the user, something more is added. Now, this is why the requirements gathering phase is very important, because this model is has high dependability on what the user has to offer as requirements. So then now, after the requirements have been gathered from the user, now the developers now take such requirements and set the specifications for that particular project, because there are already technical specifications already for that software project that you want to do. So it's juxtaposes users' requirements, and ensure and aligns them with the technical route. With this SRS document, the products design and prototyping commence, and then now in this phase, the overall system architecture, all that has to do with the system, is modeled. The modules, the interactions with each other, everything. A design model is basically just created in this phase. That's a functioning model for the project. And then when the design model meets the user requirements, and that's what was iterated, even though it doesn't meet all, because I said earlier on that it makes it of the incremental model, meaning they are like landmarks. So when it reaches the the requirements, that's the user requirements for this particular stage, implementation of proper construction of project could begin. And then the programmer could use tools to compile codes, debug the codes, and verify its functionality and efficiency. And then now, when the project implementation gets completed, the code is tested. As long as it reaches its required standard for that stage of development, and it goes through the SDLC software testing life cycle, as long as now all this is ensured, and the project is working fine, now this could be deployed. Now the project could be deployed, into the user space for use. Now, peradventure, the software is in use, and issues come up, or due to customer reviews, one or a thing or two is going to be added to the software project. Now we go back again to the beginning. The requirements are now gathered. They are now gathered. Now they're gathered for the next phase. They're gathered for the next phase. Now that is where I explained there on that is what makes the Agile model incremental. And then it's iterative. It says that it now goes through the requirements gathering, analysis, prototyping, implementation, construction, and testing quality, and then testing and quality assurance, and deployment again. Now it's just based on when as long as it reaches a desired result. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so now what are the advantages? It gives flexibility to developers. The programmers really don't need to worry about whether they worked on the projects well, or whether maybe it doesn't suit like customer well. But as long as they are going to still get the project again, to work on it, and improve on it, it makes it flexible. It gives a good model for environments that change steadily. Functionality can be developed rapidly and demonstrated. It promotes teamwork and cross training. So now you could find enormous advantages and benefits of the Agile model, because if probably someone is just starting up a business and doesn't have all the money to build like a finance or a software project, they could incorporate the Agile model, because it could suit like whatever it is, it's going to be working on, and in turn increases productivity and profit. Disadvantages. Now, because everything that is good could also be bad, so there's still some disadvantage of the agile model. It has more risk of sustainability, maintainability, and extensibility, meaning that because of how flexible it is, we could have issues, with maintaining it. We could have issues because if like we keep taking the project, they will keep adding things to it, we keep adding things to it, keep adding things to it. Now there could be issues that, like whatever it is, that you're adding to it might not gel with whatever it is that you added to it before, that you put on, and so you might have to go first to update that before like it's more like if probably whatever it is you're adding to the project cannot be carried by whatever it is that you have put there before, you have to go back to ensure that whatever it is you have put there before can take whatever it is you're adding. So it just makes more risk of maintaining and extensibility more. Then now it depends heavily on customer interaction. If whatever it is that the customer is saying to the team is not clear, the project cannot go in the right direction. So it is solely customer based. The developer has to be in constant, interaction with the customer. If not, will not get or fully benefit the agile model. And also, it's difficult to estimate the final cost of the project due to its constant iteration, because you don't know how long fine, how long like period to last, but but then you don't know how many processes, like how many phases you have to go through and go through and go through before you reach the final project. Because of that, costs could be quite enormous. But we could also back on the fact that as long as the projects are like are developed and are worked on, profit is coming in. So such a one could be able to try and finance the rest, finance the project as profit is coming in. So okay, then yes, in conclusion, most startups and smaller companies are faced with harsh realities that competitors can beat them to the market with the final products, or their clients already have moved on to more like the next available solution because of probably not much funds, maybe they don't have all the strength to keep their customers with them, so their customers will just have to move. But because of the agile model and how it could make software development more flexible and adaptable, it could help those who are just coming up, help them, help their productivity, so that they can more or less like spread whatever it is they are building up to like as long as possible, and they're already working models that deploy to customers, and as long as the models are working and the customers are using it, there will always be feedback from them, and then they can improve on it. So the agile model is what will help everyone, companies, startups, for maximum profits in software development or on the realm of IT. Sorry. So, are there any questions? Does anyone have any question? Does anyone have any question? Am I still on the call?
Hello? Yes, you're still on the call. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, you spoke. Samuel. mobile app team.
Okay.
Yeah, you said a lot about the Agile model. Is that the only? Are there no other models that can
Under the Agile model?
Not under the Agile model. Is the
Okay,
Agile
okay.
model the only solid model that you're
well,
advice go for?
Okay. The thing is, I said earlier on that each of these models, are, there are more or less like methodologies that that can that you can adopt to suit whatever it is the nature of the project you're working on. So I feel if peradventure, depending on the project you're working on, you're able to see, each model, see them for what they really are, you could choose the one that will fit you. But now, the why I like the Agile model, why I recommend the Agile model, is because it's able to combine the iterative, and incremental, and I would recommend it basically for for all for all for that's for everyone to be using, being because it's since it's the customer that's going to be using it, and you're going to be in constant interaction with the customer, and then the production and development is spread across a range of time, and then you are just going to be going through the processes again and again and again, and then you more or less like it's landmarks in the project development. So I'll say I'll recommend the Agile model as as a model that is standing out among the other models in terms of software development. That's based on my own opinion, and also based on the nature of many software projects now. If you even look at Facebook, for example, and even many of these software, like development organizations. At first, I feel many of them make use of the Agile model because they always keep bringing up new updates based that are better than the previous one. I know they are spread across. Well, I don't know like whatever it is their it's the development models it is that they use, but from the looks of how their products are moving forward, how that each update is better than the other, which I feel is also based on customer feedback and product backlog, the rest. And then also there's also like a vision in mind, or like a foresight for how the project is to go. So I'll recommend this model as a very good model for anyone who wants to work on software projects. Did I answer your question, Samuel?
To an extent, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anyone who has a question? Anyone else? We are so few this morning. The other presenter, Miriam Alcatrin, she's not available and she didn't give any prior notice. So, okay. There is a new order now, and I want also to go to the Slack channel, general channel, check and read through the new order. So starting from probably next week to be implemented. I don't know if the HR want to say anything. Comfort. Hello, Comfort. I think she's there. All right. Okay. Faith, I know you must have some objective questions you want to ask, or any questions. You can just check to the participants and ask. Direct your question to anyone, please.
Okay. Actually, okay. This question is more like going to be like, is there anyone that would want to answer it? Okay, and
Stop
I'd
sharing.
love to like hear like
On your screen and on your video. You are still
what.
facilitating.
Okay, oh, sorry. All right, let me share back. Okay, so I know that many of us that worked on projects in the past, or so I want to like hear from anyone who choose to contribute. Let's say you worked on a project in the past, in the model that was used in in software, like in development of that project, and how it went, and how it's the software that was developed now doing. Is there anyone that could help us out? Anybody? I, I know that developers are here, so anyone? Okay, let's call names. Yes. Okay, is someone saying something? Okay. Jacob. Jacob, can you hear me? Jacob. Sorry, am I still on the
I
call?
can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So I've worked on the project before, and probably like was there a model that was adopted, or like just share with us if anything. Share with us. That's
I haven't taken a project that passes through Agile Model. I've not.
No, not just majorly Agile
Project that passes
Model.
through Agile Model.
Like any other model. Any other model.
No model. No, nothing.
Have you built any, like, have you worked on any software projects at all?
I've worked on it, but it's not the one that faces customers and the rest. It's just
Okay. Like
a
personal.
yes, a personal lesson that queries weather information and all that, and gets data from the weather, more or less like interacts with an API and gets data and display to the users or to the but it's not. It's just personal.
Okay.
It's not facing customers and all that.
Thank you very much. Stand the other person. Okay, Mr. Shea.
Yes, I'm with you.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Just could you like share with us maybe like any project you worked, that was any sort of project that you worked on, and then maybe have been deployed to customers, and then probably the model that was adopted in such a model that be in such a software.
I only during the time I ever had a project that involved a lot of customers was I was building a voting system, and I don't think I really used any of those models.
Okay. Okay, building a what?
No, I don't think I use any of the models that was stated. That's the point.
Okay. You just like
Yeah,
more or
just
less
a
like
voting system online.
okay, and then just like deploy these straight. Not really. So I could say you just used more like like traditional development model, or like you just gather whatever it is that you needed, and then just created that software, then you deployed it, right?
Yes, I deployed
So that means we can say you just made use of the waterfall model, something like that, right? Basically.
if yeah, something
Yes.
that's something close to waterfalls, I kind of
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
no problem.
Because is there any other one, like any other person? Um, okay. All right. So I want to direct questions to to anybody. Which
Matthew,
phase
what is
of
written on his end?
okay, Matthew, please you can go on, sir. I didn't see. Matthew.
Yeah, I've used the waterfall model in a
Okay.
project, in a teamwork.
Oh, good.
It's kind of is a mobile development actually. So the waterfall model, what I will say about it is that it's very stressful. It's the type that you have to finish one stage completely before you switch to the next stage. Like the UI, the project we were working on, the UI took about 2 weeks before we could complete the entire screens for the UI. Then before we then switch to okay, the back end team, which will be giving us the server we are using, it took another 1 week. Now, what I will say about the model is that I will recommend that Agile you made mention of is the best.
Okay. 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 So if I think I understand what you're saying. So if Agile model could have, if that model could have, been used to work on that project, it could come out more well, right? Matthew?
Yeah, like if Agile model were to be used, we'll have the
Okay.
quick prototype. Like
Okay.
in 1 week,
Yes.
you send the prototype, then customer give feedback, something like that.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. So Sama, I think that'll be all. I think that'll be all.
Okay. All right. Thank you for presenting today.
Okay, sure.
It's almost time for stand-ups. Okay. I hope we all learned something and we all developed something in our knowledge today. Thank you everyone for attending this morning's session. Um, now I would love to bring this to an end. All right. Have a good day, everybody.
I need to, sir. Thank you.